There are four basic kinds of shadows you can add to objects and type in InDesign. We'll look at drop shadows and inner shadows first. How do you add a drop shadow? You simply select the object, click on Object here, go to the FX menu and click Drop Shadow. Now they give you a default kind of a shadow every time. And if you have preview checked, you can watch the changes as you make them. I recommend that you do not use the default every time because that's what everybody does and you don't want to look like everybody else. So I changed the opacity to 50. I changed the distance. That is the distance that it appears that the object is floating above the background. We can make it bigger or smaller. Now we can change the angle of where the sun is shining easily by using this dial. Or you can change the X and Y offset. These are related, so when I move the angle, you can see the X and Y offset are changing. So you don't need to set both, just set one of them. And let's use that. And now I'll change the distance because I don't like that as much. There we go. That's pretty good. Now size, what is that? That is the size of the shadow, how much it spreads out. Now spread is something different. Spread looks like this. And noise, what's noise? That's what noise looks like. Now I usually just stick with object knocks out shadow here, unless I have a whole bunch of different effects I'm using on the same object, in which case you can try this shadow honors other effects. See if you like that. Now for use global light, what this means is every object that you add a shadow to in this document can use the same angle and you don't have to set it up each time. So you find an angle that you like, let's say -123. Click use, remember the number -123, click use global light, and it goes back to something I had set up before. So I'm going to change this to -123 and click OK. And I'll get this warning telling me that I'm changing my global light selection. And that's fine because I want to use -123 from now on in this document as my global light. So now to finish this, we need to go back and continue. We'll look at the blending mode. There are a whole bunch of different blending modes, and my philosophy is just try them all till you find one that you like. You can understand them or not, it doesn't matter, just try them. And sometimes you can see a difference, sometimes you can't. That's a very soft light that you almost cannot see. Here's a hard light. We'll keep it like this. You can also change the color of your shadow. Why should you always have to have a gray shadow? Let's try a magenta shadow. Oh dear, that doesn't look too good. How about a yellow shadow? Well, why not? We'll click OK on the color. So you can change the color, the blending mode, you can change all of these settings. And if you want to, you can make an object style out of this. Click OK. And there is your drop shadow. With type, it works very similar. Go to text here, click on drop shadow, and you can change the color, whatever. Change the opacity for sure. Change the distance. I always like it a smaller distance for type, just so that all the lines of the shadows and the type itself don't get confused. I'm going to use global light so you can see how that works. And I'm going to make the size smaller. And actually, I don't like that opacity. I'm going to make it darker, and I don't like the magenta, I'm going to go back to black. Spread and noise, you just learned about that. This is still not good. That's better. A little less distance. And that looks pretty decent. Now you know about drop shadow. It is a lot of fun to fool with the shadow settings. Now we can fool with the shadow settings for inner shadow. This is going to make it so that the object appears to be behind the background. Now my favorite one is to give just the fill an inner shadow. So I'm going to click fill and go to inner shadow, and there is my inner shadow. That's the default. As usual, they give an opacity of 75%. I always like to change that, and we can change the distance, and we can change the angle if we want to. We could always use global light. The size we can make larger. Now choke is a printing term, and it has to do with the dark ink overlapping the light ink in this case. Noise, let's set up a little bit of noise. And we'll click OK. Now don't forget, if I ever want to clear any of this, I just click this box here. Now inner shadow with type, you have to be a little bit careful. Let's click on the text option here. And we know if we go to inner shadow here, we're going to get a big dark shadow. And sure enough, 75% opacity, and it's kind of large. Let's make it lighter, and let's make less distance. You can see that helps with the readability. We can use global light. And the size, I think the size should be smaller to make it as readable as possible. I'm not going to bother with choke or noise. Click OK, and there we go. Now this one, I'm going to clear this, and we'll go back to just do the stroke. That gives an interesting effect. See how just the stroke seems to be behind the background. And then if I do the whole object goes behind the background. Now you know about drop shadows and inner shadows. We're going to go next to cast shadows and solid drop shadows. So I'll see you over there in that video.